Potential sources of negative balancing forces as a result of life-for-profit actions. Balancing forces affect every facet of our lives. Our actions cause reactions, and these action-reaction interactions have ripple effects which echo out into the universe, echoing movements similar to the action-reaction interaction which took place. I'll illustrate what I mean by this very soon, but in some facets of our modern world, we can see balancing forces at work very clearly. Some examples are almost ironic in their presence and serve as a reminder that none of our acts affect us alone, nor are we the only beings who matter or are required for life to continue on this planet. Humans, especially those who partake in large-scale life-for-profit business systems, have a tendency of valuing their monetary interests over almost all other factors, no matter how grave the other factors might be. In attempts to maximize profits, they will go as far as to permanently destroy the very source which they use to fuel their livelihood. Balancing forces can be seen in effect prominently in various aspects of our world. One primary example of this is seen in a common agricultural practice used to obtain beef and other cattle products. Our mass-scale cattle farming practices specifically are the leading cause of deforestation on this planet. Through deforestation for cattle farms, we lose trees and forests in order to make room for breeding cattle. Balancing forces come into play when we look at the reactions put into play through these acts of agricultural practice. The act of destroying trees at such scale, as well as breeding cattle at such scale, releases an unsustainable amount of greenhouse gases into the air, which then go into the atmosphere and trap heat within the planet. Trees, the very thing we just destroyed, are nature's primary tool for dealing with such greenhouse gases. In other words, we destroy forests to create cattle. This destruction and these cattle then produce gases which we then, unironically, need forests to help negate and keep our planet at a healthy, sustainable equilibrium. Trees are citadels of terrestrial life, and their destruction brings the destruction of animals as well. Our practices of deforestation used to create food animals are pushing natural animals to and past the point of extinction. Between 1970 and 2014, the populations of terrestrial forests declined by more than half at around 53%, while populations in Latin America have declined upwards of 94%. Is it any coincidence that the reasons we deforest, mass cattle agriculture, mass disregard for terrestrial life, are the exact same reasons that we need to replant the forests, greenhouse gases, species extinctions for our own planetary survival? These are balancing forces which we put into motion. These are the echoes and ripples of the original act. We commit an action which results in a reaction. It is no coincidence that these reactions echo the original action. It is the same cause-effect nature that pervades the universe we live within. Another example of observable balancing forces on today's planet can be seen where mass-scale fishing practices echo into the absolute destruction of our oceans and sea life. In the relationship between humans' mass fishing practices and the well-being of the oceans, one can observe a direct cause-effect phenomena in which humans obliterate the ocean underfoot in an attempt to catch fish for the seafood industry. A common practice and a source for gathering a huge amount of seafood, fishing trawlers are at the forefront of the major fishing industry. These trawlers drag massive nets at the bottom of the ocean which plough anything in its path into the net. Not only does this indiscriminately damage coral reefs and any life on the seabed, but it also destroys the lives of any creatures who get caught in the net. While pulling the net from the depths, the sea creatures are subject to an incredibly brutal decompression process, as they are yanked from the deep-sea environment that their bodies are used to and quickly drawn to the surface. By the time they reach the surface, many of these lives have already been destroyed. Their eyes and bodies can burst from the change in pressure, as can their internal organs. The tissues that make up their skin can be obliterated, and the fish may be unrecognizable from its true form. They may also get crushed by the weight of the thousands of other fish in the net, as it is tightened and hauled to the surface. Why is this soulless? Because of the barbarically indiscriminate nature of the practice, there are many unintended victims. Ultimately, this method of catching fish works very well for the sole purpose of catching sea life, but it acts without regard for the sea life itself. It is the equivalent of indiscriminately taking every single person walking on a busy sidewalk in a packed city, every single one of them, in an attempt to find only women. The main thing to note is that the people who aren't women still die in this example. We only seek certain types of fish, but the tools we use, nets and hooks, are indiscriminate. The unsought-after sea life that gets caught but is unwanted is called bycatch. Bycatch makes up an estimated 40% of all sea life caught. Bycatch is not just fish. It also includes, but is surely not limited to, seabirds, whales, dolphins, sea turtles, countless invertebrates, and an immense amount of fish species. Over 33 million sharks are caught as bycatch every year, as well as 37 million seahorses. Bycatch are innocent animals that are caught and doomed for no monetary gain. Can you imagine a physical pile of 200 million pounds of animals dead or doomed to die? That's estimated to be the daily output of bycatch caught on this planet. Since bycatch makes up 40% of all that is caught, the fishing practices have a 6-to-4 rate of desired catch to bycatch. This is clearly off the mark. To destroy 4 lives in the name of harvesting 6 others is not a fair trade. So, in the name of catching 6 sought-after catches, this methodology nets an additional 4 catches that are not sought after. To maximize profits, we almost double the catch output. Catch output is a euphemism for lives destroyed. This number varies per animal that is being sought after. As an example, when shrimp are the desired catch, the catch-to-bycatch ratio is closer to a range of 1:1 to 1:3. Meaning there can be 3 times more bycatch than shrimp caught. These numbers are so high because of the very reasons discussed earlier. Shrimp generally hang out around the seabed, so large nets are dragged along the bed in an attempt to catch the shrimp. Unfortunately for both the fishermen and the sea life, the nets sweep anything in their path, so anything else inhabiting the seabed is going to get swept up. This means the fisherman has to also deal with the bycatch. However, the true tragedy is experienced by the individuals who perish. The only reason these practices are so common is because it makes harvesting the 6 sought-after catches so much easier, so much so that it is deemed worth the cost of the 4 other lives that are destroyed unnecessarily. The main problem with this is that what we deem worth is a subjective value based on our own centricism. It might be worth something financially, say, increasing the amount of animals caught and reducing the time taken to catch said amount. But monetary finances do not exist in nature. Our system of monetary finances does not exist in the universe outside of the human realm. Not only this, but the rates we fish at, especially when accounting for our practices and bycatch ratios, are absolutely not sustainable. Since these practices are so gross and unjust, we can expect to be subject to balancing forces which will dish out the consequences for our actions. What could possibly be a resulting balancing force of such gross negligence for sea life? Well, simply the total loss of all sea life. Between 1970 and 2012, the total population of the ocean had been reduced by 49%. We are overfishing the oceans for the fish we desire, and our negligent practices are culling the rest. A simple look at our impact can connect the dots between our practices and the ensuing balancing forces. We fish carelessly and frivolously and the oceans go dead, simple as that. There are many other examples of humans disregarding the life of others and subsequently losing livelihoods in the process as a result of balancing forces. On the grandest scale, this can be exemplified on 2 sides. The cause being humans' widespread disregard for the lives of other beings, and the result being the widespread loss of the lives of other beings across this planet. Earth is currently undergoing its 6th mass extinction. This mass extinction, unlike the previous 5, is not a natural event. Unlike the others, which included events as catastrophic as volcanic activity in Siberia and an asteroid hitting Earth, the current mass extinction is caused solely by humans. According to the 2020 WWF Living Planet report, globally, monitored population sizes of mammals, fish, birds, reptiles and amphibians have declined an average of 68% between 1970 and 2016. Across the globe, major systems have been carelessly destroying the surrounding planet in efforts to sustain their business models. Some of these businesses are necessary for the greater survival of our species, but many of these systems are built and run for the interests of the business owners, not the greater survival of our species and life on Earth. With practices ranging from unsustainably stealing animals out of their natural environment to be sold as pets, to species being hunted to extinction for luxury items made from their body parts, it is no surprise that such widespread life-for-profit practices are literally leading us to widespread dead ends across the planet. If we, as a rule, disregard all life on Earth, we cannot be surprised when all life begins to wane beneath our feet. If we act without care for the lives underfoot, we cannot expect such life to react as if it's been nurtured. It's being destroyed, and it has been destroyed. And with destruction comes all of its ramifications, which is all that was ceasing. Is it really any surprise that the planet is crumbling underneath our careless stomping? Is it really? Are we so blind that we can be taken by surprise by this reality? Is it so difficult to see the direct correlation between our actions and the ramifications which ripple out into the world? When transcending the factors of disconnection, disregard, and depersonalization, we can begin to understand how our impact on the planet truly is affecting our future. And we can see exactly how we reap what we sow and will receive exactly what we deserve.